and welcome to Little Black Book. We're here to help you set the bar. That is, build, acquire and repair your relationships to get the maximum output. Today, we are talking to you about part 2 of our series concerning the mindset of fear. And what we're talking about is, where does fear come from? I'm going to take you back to the basic instructions before leaving Earth book again. I love that book. You know why? Because it's basic instructions before leaving Earth. Yeah? Everybody needs it. Even aliens. Cool. So, today, let me take you through to Genesis, okay? Now, somebody would say that all fear is a learned behavior. And I'm inclined to agree. But where does it come from? You see, if to learn something must have an original source. You can't learn something just out of the blue. It must have an original source. So let me take you to the original source. Genesis 1, 2, 3. 3. Genesis 3. God has made Adam and Eve. God has told Adam, do not eat the fruit from the tree. Now you're probably wondering, what has this story got to do with fear? Adam was commanded not to eat the fruit from the tree. But Eve, under the temptation of the snake, ate the fruit and gave some to Adam. And the first thing they did was realize they were naked and they ran. Because why? Fear unclothes you. Fear strips you naked. It makes you vulnerable. So the first thing that Adam and Eve did once they ate the fruit from the tree, once they disobeyed God, is they ran into the bushes. They feared God. So now, that is the origin of fear. But I want to talk to you about how the origins of fear affect you on a daily basis, and how other people's fears influence you. So, let's take it. Number one, your number one source of fear comes from your parents, okay? Especially being in Africa, let's go there. A lot of African parents have come from Africa to UK, and they have their fears that they bring here. For instance, one of those things is, do not go out late at night. Why is that? Because in Africa, what they learned was a lot of juju or black magic or witchcraft, if you want to call it, happened at nighttime. And so from what they had seen, they said to their children, listen, do not go out late at night. I expect you before the lights come on, because that's what I've learned. Maybe someone's not from Africa, maybe someone from Europe. Well, a lot of robberies, knife crime, murders, prostitution happen at nighttime. When you see it happen, when you hear it happen, as a parent, what do you do? In order to protect your child from what you've learned, you input that information into your child. So a lot of you, your fears, for instance, let's make it a bit more plainer. Your parents will tell you, only become a doctor, only become a nurse, only become a lawyer, only become something that is of worth, because if you don't, their fear is life will not be sweet. But hey, someone could be a comedian. Hey, Big Backle Dapper has blown up. But our African parents will be telling us, hey, don't be a comedian. It's not working. It doesn't provide any money, because the fear is from what they've learned, they're now inputting it into you. So your number one source of fear is always your parents. Besides that, they rear you from what? 0 to 16 to 18? They have the maximum time of input and your developmental stage to input all their fears into you. So as an adult, you need to be aware of the fears they've input in you and assess whether these fears are legitimate. Number 2, the next source of fear is friends. Bear in mind that most of you will go to school from the age of 5 up to the age of 16 compulsory, and you will spend up to 6 to 8 hours in amongst friends. So whatever their parents have taught them, they are going to now teach you, because whatever they've got learned behaviors and fears from their parents, they are now going to input in you. It's going to be an exchange. For instance, those of us who grew up in a Christian home, being amongst people who are not Christian, there are certain fears that we have. For instance, don't drink. Okay, now the Bible says do not be filled with wine, but be filled with the Spirit of God. Sorry, the basic instructions before Earth tells you that do not be filled with wine, but be filled with the Spirit of God. Why? Because more likely the Spirit of God is going to influence you in a positive manner. It doesn't say you can't drink, But Africans especially will tell you, don't drink at all because of what they've seen. And so when they input that into the child now replicates that in its friends. Hey, don't drink, don't smoke. No, smoking probably different. Don't drink, like, like, y'all to be doing all this, man. And the inputs of fear get pushed onto their friends. And vice versa. You get me? And your friends will be the ones that will tell you, you can't make it. You can't do this. Like, you can't start your big sweet shop. No, because it won't work. There's no market for it. Meanwhile, you've researched, you've done your work, you've done your homework. You have a dream and a vision, but you're moving in a direction. Let me tell you something. Sometimes your friends input wrongly. Cool. The next, third one, which is probably even better than the first two, is we learn fears from experience. For instance, if I put my hand in fire, I don't learn from my parents. My parents can tell me, don't put your hand in the fire, and I might listen. But I put my hand in fire and I feel, oh, for those of you who don't know, that's tongues. Anyway, so it's very, very hot, and I realize that burns. I don't like that feeling. I've learned from experience. For instance, guys approaching girls. You may have been hurt by a girl in the past who said something like, you're ugly, you're butters. You never want to approach a female again. For instance, a lot of guys who date the opposite sex, different races. For instance, a black guy saying, I don't date black girls. Oftentimes, there is a negative experience there, which leads them to say all black females. They haven't dated all black females. They haven't seen all black females. They haven't spoken to all black females. But because of that negative experience with that certain female, they cloud all black females as that. For instance, and it's not bad to do so, because we do. No, it's bad to do so, but we all do it as human beings. For instance, one snake could bite you, and you say all snakes bite you. Do you see what I'm saying? One snake bites you, and you say all snakes bite you. What happens? Men become fearful of snakes. Men become fearful of black women or white women or whatever they're feeling because of an experience. So a lot of times we learn our fears through experience. The final and fourth point about fear and where it comes from is literally your environment. That is society, I should say, as a whole. Society on a bigger picture. The media. Your television breeds fear. Like, it literally inhabits and manifests fear. Let me tell you something. Fear grows in darkness. Do you know what darkness represents? A lack of knowledge. The basic instruction before leaving Earth tells us that the darkness cannot comprehend the light. In fact, the basic instruction before leaving Earth tells us that a lack of knowledge, my people perish. A lack of, too much darkness and not enough light, people perish. If you didn't know that you could save 5 years of your time by going left, you've lost 5 years. You didn't know, you've perished in some sense or form. So the greatest way that some of the greatest way that people learn fears is through the social environment they're in, the environment they're in, and the lack of light in it. This is why white people sometimes end up being racist against black people, because the media feeds them a story that all black men, when they're behind you, they're walking down the road, they rob you, they steal from you, they rape your women. And so what happens? Then you get a whole generation of white people scared of black people. But why? It's a learned behavior. It is an inputted information which has brought a certain output. So fear, I'm going to break it down again. 1, your parents. 2, your friends. 3, your experiences. And 4, the very environment you live in. So you need to assess, when you break down and take time to settle with yourself, these fears, where they're coming from. When you start to analyze where the fears are coming from, then you can begin to cut down the roots of where some of this fear is coming from. Listen, guys, it's time to check out. We are helping you to set the bar, build, acquire, repair your relationships in order for you to get the maximum output out of them. Guys, I appreciate you, and make sure you have a lovely day today. Little Black Book, we signing out, baby. Turn the page over. Part 3 is coming out real soon, baby.